In the quiet town of Eldridge, nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, lived a man named Samuel Grayson. Samuel was a reclusive artist, known for his hauntingly vivid paintings that seemed to capture the very essence of despair and darkness. His artworks, though unsettling, were celebrated for their depth and emotion. One chilly autumn evening, Samuel received an anonymous commission, a request to paint the old Hawthorne Mansion, a dilapidated estate on the outskirts of town. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, shrouded in local legends of tragedy and hauntings. Intrigued by the challenge and the generous payment offered, Samuel accepted. As he approached the mansion, a sense of unease washed over him. The once grand structure loomed ominously, its windows like hollow eyes staring into his soul. Determined, Samuel set up his easel and began to paint. Hours passed, and as dusk settled, he noticed a faint light flickering in one of the upper windows. Curiosity piqued, he decided to investigate. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. The wooden floorboards creaked under his weight as he ascended the grand staircase. Following the light, he entered a dimly lit room, adorned with antique furniture covered in white sheets. In the center stood an old, ornate mirror, its surface tarnished with age. The flickering light seemed to emanate from within it. Drawn to the mirror, Samuel wiped away the grime, revealing his reflection. Or so he thought. The image staring back at him was not his own. Instead, he saw a woman in a tattered dress, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. She mouthed silent words, pleading, desperate. Suddenly, a cold hand grasped his shoulder. He spun around, but the room was empty. Terrified, Samuel fled the mansion, leaving his equipment behind. That night, he couldn't sleep. The woman's image burned into his mind. Compelled by an inexplicable force, he returned the next day, retrieving his canvas. To his astonishment, the painting had transformed. The mansion was now depicted in pristine condition, and at the window stood the woman from the mirror, her eyes seemingly following him. Obsessed, Samuel delved into the mansion's history. He discovered that a century ago, a woman named Eliza Hawthorne had lived there. She was an artist, much like himself, who had mysteriously vanished, leaving behind a series of unfinished paintings. Locals believed her spirit was trapped within the mansion, seeking someone to complete her work. Determined to free her, Samuel returned to the mansion one final time. He stood before the mirror, brush in hand, and began to paint. As he did, the boundary between reality and reflection blurred. The room around him faded, and he found himself inside the mirror, facing Eliza. She smiled, a tear rolling down her cheek, and whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, townspeople discovered the mansion's front door ajar. Inside, they found two easels, one holding Eliza's final, completed masterpiece, and the other displaying Samuel's unfinished canvas. Of Samuel, there was no sign. The mirror stood in the corner, its surface pristine, reflecting only the empty room. To this day, visitors to the Hawthorne Mansion claim that on quiet nights, if you gaze into that mirror, you might see two artists painting side by side, forever bound by their art and the mysteries of the mansion.